Something's missing. There we go. Hello heroes and villains, my name is Jordan and welcome to my channel. Today's video is going to be the start of a couple videos I have planned before Christmas, all winter and book related, and today is going to kick it off with my December TBR, so all the books that I want to read in December. I thought because I have so much more Christmas cheer than I ever had before, probably because I graduated college and with everything going on, I have so much free time to be jolly. I thought I would make my TBR a little bit more challenging because of all this and a little bit more festive. So I came across this picture on Pinterest the other day, and though I do not sadly have anyone who's going to gift me 24 books each day before Christmas, I can, however, make it so that way I can read a book every day before Christmas, which is almost as good. So I picked out 24 books, some from my personal collection, some from the library, and I packaged them up and I had my family pick out which books would correlate to what dates. And I will be reading a book a day. Whew! That's the general idea. Let's get into all the books. Was that as fake as it sounded? There's nothing in here. Okay, so I've got my phone here so that way I can check the titles and names if I forget, because if you thought I was gonna memorize all these titles and names for 24 books, you thought wrong. Okay, so starting off with the first category, Christmas books, we have, of course, the classic A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens, a story about a man named Ebenezer Scrooge who has nothing but hate to give the world, until one day on Christmas Eve he is visited by the ghosts of Christmas past, present, and future, and they try to make him understand that he needs to change his ways. Next we have Letters from Father Christmas by J.R.R. Tolkien. Everyone knows him as the person who wrote Lord of the Rings, but he also wrote each year letters to his children posing as Santa Claus and telling all of the adventures of the North Pole with packaging presents, polar bears, and elves, and he added some illustrations as well. So this is a collection of those letters. Then we have The Greatest Gift by Philip Van Doren Stern, another classic. This story is the one that inspired the classic movie It's a Wonderful Life, which I have never watched but have heard about. It follows a man who is contemplating suicide because he is bored with his life, and on Christmas Eve he is about to jump off a bridge when he is confronted by a stranger who grants him the wish that he was never born. Then we have another classic, which is Hercule Poirot's Christmas, and this is by Agatha Christie. It's her Christmas murder mystery story, and I love the inscription on this. It's essentially her dedicating it to her brother-in-law who complained that her stories weren't bloody enough for him, and so she was like, all right, bro, here's a bloody murder for you. Merry Christmas. This is the story about an old rich man who invites his estranged children back to his estate for Christmas, and that evening he is murdered, and it is said to be one of his children. Dun dun dun. Then we have Two Middle Grade by Matt Haig. That is first A Boy Called Christmas, a story about how Santa Claus went from being a boy who had nothing to a man who wanted to give everything. And then we have the sequel, The Girl Who Saved Christmas, which is the story of a young chimney sweep and her cat who are starting to lose their belief in the magic of Christmas, but also find them swept up in an adventure to save Christmas. Then there is another middle grade called The Christmasaurus by Tom Fletcher. I love the illustrations in this book, which is why I wanted to read it. It is all about a boy who all he wants for Christmas is a dinosaur, and no one, not even Santa Claus, believe he's going to get one, but he does. Finally, we have The Afterlife of Holly Chase by Cynthia Hand. This is a retelling of A Christmas Carol, and our main character, instead of recognizing their wrongs after being visited by the ghosts of Christmas past, present, and future, they don't change their ways. They end up dying, and they are reborn as the ghost of Christmas past. Then we're coming to our winter selection, and first up is Little Woman by Louisa May Alcott. I fell in love with the story because of the film adaptation from 1994. So, so good. Way better than the movie that just came out. Controversial? I don't know. This is the story of four March sisters who are growing up starting in 1862, I think, and it is during the Civil War, and it follows them through hardships, through romances, through failures, and through their victories into their early adulthood. Then we have a series by Catherine Arden. This is the Winter Night trilogy, I believe. First off is The Bear and the Nightingale, then there's The Girl in the Tower, and The Winter of the Witch. This is a story about a girl who lives in the Russian countryside. It is set, of course, in winter, and this winter in particular, something terrible seems to be brewing, and our protagonist notices that, but she is confronted with her own situation when she is forced to choose between either marrying someone or going into a convent. Then we have The Golem and the Genie by Helene Wecker. This is a historical piece about a golem and a genie in 1899 in New York. They have been immigrated from their homelands and they meet each other and instantly connect, and they're trying to figure out a mystery between this connection. Then we have City of Thieves by David Benioff, another historical piece. It is set in 1940s during the World War II, and we follow two prisoners who are given the choice of either being executed or finding a dozen eggs. And that is a task pretty much impossible during those times, but they decide to do it anyway because, hey, better than dying, right? Then we have a middle grade called Frostheart by Jamie Littler, another one I was drawn to because of the illustrations. My brother said this reminded him of Avatar: The Last Airbender, but I've also heard it compared to How to Train Your Dragon. All of those things I love, and so I'm so excited for this. This is the story about a stronghold that is cut off from the rest of the world by a sea of monsters, and our protagonist finds out he has magical abilities, and he gets swept up in a sleigh ride adventure in order to use those magical abilities. Then we have Witchwood by Tahara Mafi, another middle grade. It is the continuation of the Furthermore series. It's winter themed, and it's about a girl who has to wash dead corpses and prepare their souls for the afterlife. That sounds really like Christmas. Ho ho! Then we have Winter Song by S.J. Jones. This is a young adult book that is inspired by The Goblin Market, written by Christina Rossetti. It is about a girl who grows up befriended by the Goblin King until she becomes an adult and she forgets all about him, and he decides that it's high time she remember who he was. Then we have another middle grade called The Doll Maker of Krakow by R.M. Romero. I don't know much about this one, honestly, but I do know it is about a world of dolls that has magic and a world of humans that is at war. It is set during the 1940s during World War II, and we follow a doll and a doll maker. Finally, in this category, we have the poetry of Robert Frost. I love Robert Frost for his seasonal work, and every time I think of winter, I think of that one poem he wrote. I think it's called Stopping in the Woods on a Snowy Evening, and it goes, "The woods are dark, dreary, and deep, but I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep." I think we've all heard that at one point in our lives. Our final category is books that I really just want to get to before the end of the year, starting off with A College of Magics by Caroline Stevermeer. This is a story about a royal who is first in line to the throne, but she is too young to take it, so they send her off to a magic school. Then we have Sorcerer to the Crown by Zen Cho, another book about magic. It is set in the 1800s England, I believe, and magic has always existed, but it is slowly fading away. Our main protagonist is a Black Englishman, and he is facing his own troubles due to racism, but he is also on the hunt to find out why magic is fading away. Next, we have probably my most anticipated read ever, and that is The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. It is a story about Zachary, a boy in college who discovers a book in the library that's unlabeled. He opens it up and reads inside a story about himself. It is the story of him as a young boy about to open a door, and he decides not to. And in the story, he finds out that he done goofed because that door was actually a portal to a magical land. Then we have another anticipated release, which is The Empire of Gold by S.A. Chakraborty. This is the third volume in her series. It is about a con artist who ends up accidentally awakening a Jinn warrior in the middle of Cairo, Egypt, and the chaos that ensues from there. Finally, we have Snot Girl Volume 3 by Brian Lee O'Malley and illustrated by Leslie Hung. This is a graphic novel that I really love, this series, because usually when it comes to graphic novels, I find the story is really flat or I don't like the art as much, and this time it's just all around amazing. It is the story of a fashion blogger who seems to have the perfect life. However, she has 3 problems. 1, she has really bad allergies, thus the title Snot Girl. Number 2, her boyfriend has just left her for a younger woman, which is her last assistant. And number 3, probably the worst thing, she may or may not have killed someone. So there you go. Those are all the books that I have on my December TBR. I hope you enjoyed this video. I will be doing a wrap-up version of it on Christmas Eve where I talk about all the books I managed to read and if I would recommend them or not. In between then, I'll probably be posting a video every other day, and if you enjoyed this video and want to support that content coming out, my hat is falling off. Wonderful. Anyway, if you want to support, like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in my next video very soon. Bye.